Thank you. The minutes were sent out. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of December 20th?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion from Kevin to approve. Second from John. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's been approved. I'm not sure you really want this, but I'm gonna. I have a presentation to the council for the state of the city as we come into 2024.
Mayor, before you start that, I'd like to welcome Vince to the council tonight. It's nice to see your face.
Yeah, Vince Helming is his first meeting in council, so welcome, Vince. Congratulations on the election. Look forward to your participation in council. I think the mic's on now. Okay. I didn't make copies, so we'll have to follow along with the presentation if you don't mind. Put it in, take the next one. And Kirsten, I think on the city financials, were you going to comment on these? Yeah, I think in addition to what's there, just quick, the general fund expenses, as you see, but in 2022, at the end of 2022, going into 2023, we had $10,851,000. So we were up about $800,000 there. In 2022, we had unencumbered balances of $4,871,737. So we had substantially less unencumbered back then. So I think that adds to why our expenses are so much. The rainy day fund did increase a little bit. About $60,000 from last year. And when it comes to park and rec expenses, we had a banner year for working on our parks. It was about $900, almost $1 million more than we had last year in those park expenses. And an unencumbered balance last year of $1,624,000. Our ARPA, we're utilizing committing our ARPA more now, so you're not seeing a whole lot in the unencumbered balance there, but we do have intended uses for that. So, and edit, of course, edit is something that I try to keep my eye on, and I'm not sure those are not. I don't have the numbers from last year, but I think our edit is still in pretty good shape. I'm sorry about not having that available right now. Next slide. The Heart of Jasper and Main Street program. I want to speak to that just quickly because I think it has been a real hit in the several years that it's been in place. They are a catalyst for our downtown revitalization. When you combine them with the projects that Rojack has contributed to the city over the years, it's redefined our downtown. It is with Rojack and their large, I'm going to say large projects, amenities, sites for visitation. It's become a tourist attraction, and the Heart of Jasper is trying to create that environment then that is really kind of bringing a lot of visitors into the area. So there's a lot going on within the Heart of Jasper. You can see the business startups. You can see the numbers up there, and I'm just really pleased with how they are working with, and now they're working really closely with Rojack for the future of the downtown area. Also have been a real key component of the downtown merchants and the Chamber of Commerce. So let's go to the next one. This is probably worth spending a little bit of time on. One, we are the only municipality in the state of Indiana that has NSHARP certification. And we continue to do that because it keeps us on our toes and our own employee safety. We've gone 15 months now without a lost time injury, and that never fails. But that doesn't happen without a lot of effort. When you look at the number of employees we have total over there, we have 375 total employees when we include seasonal. That's a lot of orientation, training, and cultural acceptance when it comes to safety. They look after each other. The age of our employees is gradually coming down, and that's due to retirement. The average years of service is coming down, again, because of the retirements. We have a lot of baby boomers that are approaching retirement. They've indicated their interest in retiring in the next couple of years, and they're working with INPRS on their retirement plans, so they know what's going to be available to them. So I feel pretty good that those employees that have been here a long time will leave here healthy. I mean, healthy from a standpoint of we're taking care of them, and they're not getting injured at work, but also our health care costs. Our wellness program has avoided us raising the cost to employees for the last 5 years. So we've been able to hold those costs for 5 years, and that's unheard of when I talk to any other municipality around. I really believe it's that partnership with Memorial Hospital and the wellness program we've implemented and the things that employees are embracing. So I hope it helps as a community, helps us move in the right direction there. The one last bullet point there is the Indiana Office of Technology. They've requested that municipalities meet certain standards, and we had been one of the first ones to sign up to meet those cyber-ready standards. And it's to protect the data. It's to protect the data of our customers, our employees, and prevent us from being shut down from those that have bad intentions. And we've heard many stories of municipalities, specifically in the utilities, that have had incidents where the utility's been impacted because of remote access and being able to bridge into the system. So this is a big deal for us. It's something new, and the Indiana Office of Technology is driving it.
Mayor, we also probably have, I don't know the number, but it's probably a real low turnover rate, isn't it, for our city?
Our turnover rate is extremely low. And I'll get to, I think we had, I've got the numbers here in a little bit later, but when you look at our rate, I think it's like 2 to 3%. And when I was in industry, it was double digit, not quite in the 20s, but it's approaching 20s. And I think it had increased since then. So that's been 10 years ago almost. So most of the turnover rates I hear of are just extremely high. But I think that's the reason for our low is because we do a pretty good job of selection. We look for cultural fits. So I'll give our personnel department a lot of credit for that. When it comes to any role within the city, they're looking for that cultural fit and how it's going to best work into the organization long term, not just short term. We did have a couple of retirements, specifically for people that are my appointees, Jerry Sheeter in the electric department and Scott Eckerly in the street department. And we brought on 3 new ones, Stan Seifert, Matt Kiefer, and Josh Gunselman. Darla had left us voluntarily for another job opportunity, so that wasn't a retirement. We had 3 leave, and those are the 3 new appointments. Again, I feel very comfortable with how these 3 gentlemen have come in as leaders and are leading their departments. We do participate in the Career Cruise, which is held at the Jasper High School, and it shows opportunities within the city for employment, specifically the park department, the arts department, The fire department, the police department have been involved in that in the past. We're encouraging others, to get involved in it so that there's a lot of good lab jobs, high-tech jobs within our departments that just aren't well known by the public. So as we have openings come up with retirements, we want to be able to fill those. Yeah, and Kevin, thank you for asking the question. I would encourage, if you have a question as we go through here, just to ask as we go. Don't wait till the end, okay? We did establish an endowment for the downtown gathering spaces and the maintenance of the new revitalized square. That endowment is something that we're going to continue with other projects to make sure that we have the funding available to keep it in top-notch quality condition. It's one thing to have something beautiful when you start, but it's another thing to keep it beautiful. People are always commenting about the community and how well it looks, and I want to have that with any of the assets the city of Jasper is responsible for. We did get awarded the Uplands Quality of Place Attraction Award this past year, so it's another award. It's something that we aspire to be the place to reside, to come, and to be employed. So I'm really pleased with that outcome in 2023. Go to the next one. Now here, yes, sir.
That endowment for the courthouse square, that just covers just the courthouse square. I mean, it's not tied into any other maintenance.
It's downtown revitalization for the courthouse square, specifically the gathering spaces and the. We're gonna need to maintain the permeable pavers on a regular basis. And that requires special treatment to it. So.
It's also for programming.
And for programming, yeah. So it was intended to bring music, different things to the downtown area, to activate the downtown. Thanks, Renee. Planning department, you can see here, in 2022, we had 320 permits issued, so just a few more. We had about the same amount when it comes to dollars and investments from those permits. And in 2022, we issued 20 mobile food truck permits. So actually had a few more interested in this. In 2023, in addition to those numbers up there, we had 51 sign permits, 57 fence permits, and 23 pool permits. The planning department's been very active, and of course that went through some transition this year with Darla's resignation and with Josh Gunselman coming on board. But I tell you, Josh has really embraced the role and is doing a good job coming in. His experience on the BZA was very helpful. We did, as a community, we were involved in the establishment of the Alasi Resource Center, which is in Huntingburg. That's critical for our community because of the number of immigrants to the area, and giving them the resources they need to find resources within the community. So they're that bridge. The other thing, the bottom point there, of course, council was involved in that. The Dora District is being established in 2023. That's a big step, as I've heard other communities now also seeking to get that. And they're wanting our footprint, how we did it. Some of them actually received the same permission the same time we did, but still in the process of getting it passed. In the utilities office, again, a lot going on in the utilities. They are definitely being impacted by several retirements. We must have just started our utilities back 40 years ago or so, because there's a lot of retirements coming through the different departments. I will say that our water department felt that last year, and the new hires they brought on board, they are all certified water operators, or whatever the term is. Tim has worked with them. They've received their certifications, and that takes a relief off of us as a community, because we've got people that are actually trained in how to do that. Many municipalities today struggle to have those certifications in place. So every one of the hires has passed that. There are several retirements planned here in 2024 also, and some of them in leadership roles. In the utility office, they were hit with retirements. They've had 2 last year and are facing 2 this year right away. So that staff is really turning over. But even with that, they are doing a great job of managing our $44 million in sales. And you can see what kind of bad debt that we're accumulating there. It's really nothing. I will say that out of that bad debt, it's a little higher than it was in previous years, but that's because of one incident, and it was one customer who passed away, and we can't collect. It was about a $9,000 impact. So other than that, we would have been in pretty good shape compared to last year. And small claims, we did collect $2,400 more through small claims, but then we fell short of the 2022 number in the tax refund exchange compliance system. And that was 14,166 back in 2022. So. Then the wastewater department. We had 2.3 inches less rain in 2023 than we did in 2022. Doesn't sound like much, but when you start looking at some of the other numbers, we actually treated $80 million 80 million gallons less than we did in 2022. Now, 2-point-something inches of rain probably doesn't account for all of that, but we have been working on leakage. We've been working on the infiltration into our wastewater system we had stormwater laterals that were tied into it in some of the older neighborhoods, and those have been corrected. There's been a lot of work done in order to improve that. We were called to inspect 417 laterals in 2022, in which 75 failed. So we didn't inspect as many laterals, which maybe there weren't as many problems out there, and we didn't have as many failures. So a lot of that is depending upon the housing market too, because of the requirements to have those sewer lines inspected. And again, I'll mention wastewater department is one where we're going to be facing several retirements in the near future.
Mayor, I'm curious, does that treatment of that much less water, does that equate to that much less consumption?
Wastewater plant.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, either way, that much less.
I can't say that would be the case. I don't think people are.
It's probably the infiltration.
Let's wait until you see the water numbers.
I do think it's the gutters, stormwater.
You know what I mean?
I do think it's the stormwater is a big part of it. Yeah. Yeah. I do think that's the biggest portion of it, Chad. Is stormwater infiltration. And that was brought up, that's been brought up for how many years? Many, because that when we have an issue down at the plant of capacity, it's usually during a heavy storm, and we get that infiltration. If it wasn't infiltrating from the storm, the storm shouldn't have had any impact on really that sewage treatment. So, again, we do have permits for the biosolids to go to the farm grounds. And of course, all those numbers are a little bit less than they were last year. Okay, then the next in the gas and water department. Now, we did test more drinking water samples in 2023 than we did in 22, and we also processed 53 million more gallons of water in the filtration plant. So our water usage went up considerably. And there are more tests being done. There are more tests for pools. There's just you can look down through the numbers there. The number of breaks being and main breaks being fixed. I think we're continuing to see less and less. And I hope that's the case. I hope we're getting to that old infrastructure and getting it replaced and fixed. And with the work that's being done in this older part of town, I think that's going to be the case. I think our water infrastructure should be in pretty good shape in a couple of years. It should be in good shape now, but I think we've still got some work to be done. Any questions on gas and water? Again, I think Tim has done a pretty good job of requiring his new employees to get their certifications right away, do their study work. Next, the electric department. Now here, this is Stan Seifert took over the electric department with Jerry's retirement. Stan has come in and assumed both his role and Jerry's role for the balance of the year, just to see what the requirement was going to be going forward. And we anticipate that we will probably be replacing Stan's role here, his old role, in the near future. But Stan has really been promoting a new substation on the north side as part of our resiliency for utilities, and we're looking at plans now that are being developed with the help of IMPA and some consultants. And I'm not mentioning the AMI project because it's been going last year. We've made some significant progress again this year, but it's probably another year and a half, 2 years before we complete that project. We're about 50% completed according to Ashley in the office.
Mayor Stan said they were working on loops in several areas to improve service and everything. I didn't see that up there, but I know they're focusing on that.
I think that's that substation on the north side. We don't have, if the one that's on Mill Street would go out, that whole north side, we haven't got a backup to get to it. And that's the issue. He's trying to build some resilience in there. I didn't mention it, but on the water department, and I will a little bit later on some of the projects we're facing in 2024, but the water department, we had a backup water supply. We've asked the utility department to connect with a backup supply, so we're not just relying on the Patoka River. And that is underway with Patoka Water. We'll be connecting on the north side of town with them to one of their mains. So that should happen this year. And the electric department, again, they were so involved out here in the Courthouse Square revitalization. They've moved more cable and wires and infrastructure than I wanted to see. They were on top of it. They stayed in front of the construction crews and did it without complaint. So I just really want to applaud the electric department for their cooperation with that. They also installed, normally it's the Christmas tree and some of our decorations around the poles, but this year we had a lot of new decorations on the poles. They installed that. They're storing it right now, but they're busting at the seams from storage standpoint, and we've got to look at some alternatives down the road. So we've got a meeting coming up. I think Renee and Kirsten and I are going to meet with Ann and with Bud to talk about what the possibilities might be in the future for the electric department. Then after the electric department, you got the police department. Probably one of the most significant things, not Sergeant Adam Barr retirement, but it was significant. It was significant in the fact that we have a number of individuals that expressed interest. I think there was like 9 candidates that internal candidates expressed interest in that role. So we've got a young force eager to grow and develop within the police department. I think hats off again to Cale and Chief for recruiting talent that want to be here. They want to be in Jasper, Indiana. A couple of them have come from Henderson, Kentucky in the past and have been outstanding. I feel like the police department has come a long way. I think they're doing a lot in today's world to respond to the needs of not just residents, but even those that are passing through. They did increase the number of citations written by 166 in 2023, and they issued 645 more warnings. You know, the number of arrests were up by 52, not a huge amount, but there was also a reduction in the number of drug arrests. So I don't think we've hit that tipping point yet on drug arrests, but I think we've been pretty careful in trying to get the message through that we just don't accept it. And the number of stops that we make with these new uniformed officers out there in patrol, that makes a difference. That's where we're catching these people. So feel pretty good about that. We had former officer John Flack and then Daniel Moore come on board as part-time dispatcher. That is a big relief, specifically for that night dispatch and those shifts. You don't have people that are there by themselves at any time. They've got a backup. It's making a big difference. And we see part-time dispatching as something that we're encouraging others. It's a good step in. It's a good way to come into the force. It's also a good way as you leave the force, as John has done. He wanted to stay involved, and this is another way he can stay involved. Next, the fire department. That's a fire department. They are volunteers, and they're the heart and soul of our public safety, and they're to be commended for their commitment to the residents of our community. They've got other full-time employment, and they've got a compassion to serve the public all hours of the day, 365 days a year. You see in the lower right what is an asset management plan that the volunteer fire department has put together. Chief and his assistant chiefs have assembled this. They're using a model out of Florida, and I reviewed it today. We're going to be meeting with others and then meeting with the council to share that information. It's important that we understand the long-term commitments to our volunteer fire department and eventually the transition from a volunteer to a full-time. Don't see that. I'm not seeing that for 10 years, maybe, but eventually it's going to happen. And I think we've got to just understand what that's going to do to our resources. But you can see there, still one of the big issues that our volunteer fire department has is the repeat calls. We had 3 calls to the same residents yesterday for lift assist. And it's an unfortunate situation. And we can't charge for the 911 call when we respond unless they go to the hospital. We don't get reimbursed for that. On the 3rd call, we finally had this individual go to the hospital. So time and time again, we have the same repeats, and then it drains our funding because we're responding and we're paying for those responses. And you well know that the challenge in the fire department is to stay on top of equipment. We want to make sure they have the right safety equipment to be able to do their jobs and not put themselves at risk. Next is the Parks Department. And Buffalo Trace has really come a long way. Several years ago, we were losing money on an annual basis, and we're making money there now. We had over 25,000 rounds played. And, I think the future of Buffalo Trace is very promising, especially with the addition of the new driving range or practice facility that's being launched this spring. We did the pickleball courts at Beeler Park. We had the Ruxer 18-hole disc golf course, and look at that. 1,162 rounds were played that were registered on the app. So there's a lot of people that don't use the app, but they'll go out and use the facility. And that was since the opening. We opened it in early August. It was like right after the Strassenfest, or right at Strassenfest time. So I think that's pretty good. Good utilization of an area in the city that we struggled with for a number of years. We lost, I think it was like $400,000 a year on chemicals and treatment and everything because it could get washed away in the spring, or couldn't open until June. The other thing, we did install key fobs at the park facilities, and we did that for the security of our residents. We have young residents that are involved in soccer and other activities that go to our parks early in the morning to meet their teams. And we were experiencing individuals that were sleeping in the restrooms, showering, and creating an environment that was just not felt safe for these young children to be in. So we installed these key fobs. They lock at a certain time at night automatically, and since we've done that, we haven't had an issue with these restrooms. We do direct anyone in need that's homeless and passing through Jasper or has been identified to contact the JPD, and then they will assess the situation and direct them to where they can get some assistance. I've had that question asked again today, so I thought I'd bring that up. The reason those key fobs are on there is for the safety and security of our residents, specifically the younger ones. And then the city mill, we had an unexpected expense last year, and that's what started the dialogue on one of the subjects tonight. We had a $20,000 expense just to get the wheel repaired. Next. Park, like I said, the park was very busy this past year and you saw the expenses, but the wetlands inspection up at Parklands, we passed our second one, so we got one more to go before we have to be released. We get to be released. Doing a lot of amenities throughout just to bring them up to date, and I'm real happy with where we are with the parks and the progress they're making. We've got a lot of things we want to do, but we're making some progress. The Universal Carousel that was installed at J.C. Park, again, that's something specific to those that may be wheelchair bound or have some kind of physical impairment. So really glad we're making those steps as well to be a park for all. Next. The Arts Department, they had a good year. Their rentals were good. Their activity was good. The number of people coming through was higher than it had been in previous years. I feel really good about their programming improvements. And we just made the move to a full-time coordinator for school programming and arts activities. So that, I think, is going to be extremely helpful for us and bring things like, I don't know how many of you were able to attend the Free Hugs event, but the two public events that were well received by those that did attend. And I'd like to see more and more of that. The Chalk Walk has always been that's kind of been the anchor out here and around the square, and now down at the Cultural Center. Go ahead. I think key here is when I talked to Kyle, we built the Tim Clark Cultural Center, and we didn't want it just to be open 5 days a week. We wanted it to be accessible to the public, and so we are open 343 days out of the year. I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good compared to what you'd see from other facilities like ours. And again, you see the participation up there. It's about 3,000 more than the previous year, I think. So, and we had 574 activities compared to 440 in 2022. So, again, really good stuff. The auditorium, the entrance to the auditorium was enhanced and restrooms added. That's been a need since it was built. Add additional restrooms specifically for women. There was just such a demand at the intermissions that people couldn't even get back in their seats in time for the second part of the performances. So that's been well received. Next is the street department. Now, they get accolades from the community all the time because they do what they can to keep it clean. The rubbish, pick up rubbish, the garbage on time, recyclables. The street department is out there now spreading beet juice and whatever to keep the public safe. So there is no shortage of people calling in saying, we really appreciate what the street department has done for us. We have guys that'll stop and help residents bring their trash out or lift something that they see the residents in struggle. So I think it's just a wonderful thing. And we're big on community crossings grants. We've been applying for those on a regular basis and been awarded community crossings grants. And that's really getting us a 2-for-1. For every dollar we spend, we're getting $1 from the state. And that helps us get through a lot of these streets and the development of the stormwater, new curbs and inlets. So we got to keep doing that.
Mayor, I just saw an article this afternoon that the community crossing's been raised from $1 million to $1.5 million for communities. So we have an opportunity to get even more money on that for this next cycle.
They can raise it a lot. A lot of smaller communities, we talked about this, they raise what you're capable of getting, but for a small community to match much, that takes us from 1 million capacity up to 1.5 million, and we've been fortunate to get $500,000 to go towards some of these projects. But it's good. It's good, and I'm glad the state is doing that. They understand the need on infrastructure in small towns. You can go ahead and change it. And here's a reference to the trash and so forth that I mentioned earlier. We are a benchmark for other communities when it comes to our street department. People that tour it, people that see our community, they send their staffs over to see what we're doing because they want to copy that. And we did have fewer dogs this year than we did last year. So that's a good thing. The next is the Mayor's Youth Leadership Council. This year, you can see our previous projects, 4 previous projects there. And Rookshire Disc Golf was one of them that we finished up in August. But in 2024, our project now is the development of a nonverbal communication board. And this is for people with autism primarily. The standard out there is English, an English board. It's got a lot of symbols and pictures to refer to help nonverbal people communicate. We're taking it a little bit farther. We're going to do it in Spanish also. And so it'll be two-sided, English on one side, Spanish on the other side, so that as people are in parks, and we've got 8 parks these are going to be constructed in, this was a recommended project by the park department to us. They'd like to have these out there because of the issues that they see and the fact that it would be more resident-friendly. We've got 21 students. Lisa is the leader and does a great job leading that group. They are doing their own fundraising. This is not a budgeted thing within the city. It is something that is self-funded. So they do their own fundraising, and they're doing a great job in making these projects happen.
Is there any benefit to having something like that in the, like at City Hall? Maybe not a big,
Oh.
but maybe a laminated copy of it at the front desk.
Great idea.
Police department, I think the fire department has those as
Yeah,
well.
police and fire have it with them.
So I think that's something that can carry over.
Yeah, we ought to look into that. Good point. Always looking, continuous improvement. Thank you. You go to the next. Then in 2024, these are the main projects that we're working on right now. Of course, the downtown infrastructure revitalization project, phase 2, and then we'll get started this spring on that. The regional sewer district project, and we've got a new project lead on it for the county, and we'll be working with them to see how we can not only serve the north side of Jasper, but also help with the Hayesville and Portersville issues that are up there. The backup water supply I mentioned with Patoka Water. The multi-use trail expansion from Mill Street to St. Charles. That'll be that north side connection. And we'll have 3/4 of the way around the city in trails then. The new outdoor aquatic center, we received the bids on those just last week, and we're going through right now what does it mean as far as what we can accept, what we can afford, how we're going to pay for it. Obviously, the bids came in higher than what we had anticipated, so we're looking at what we can do from a financial standpoint. This was a high priority to replace the pool. We need to get it replaced. We were funding the bond through TIF, so it's a matter of the gap, how we can address the gap right now. Where am I at? The Beeler Park, that's a project out there. They got the pickleball courts in, and they're putting a parking lot and a shelter house in there with restrooms. And that will be a great park once that's done. Eventually, walking path around it too. So again, parks are enhancing the existing parks. The Dewey Street sidewalk, curb, stormwater infrastructure replacement, that was part of the community crossings. We're underway. We got caught with the winter months, so it's just continuing through the year. And then the new deck at the Jasper Mill, that mill's been up a number of years, and what we saw was the flooring was rotting out due to the moisture effect. So the new deck is going in. It's about a $150,000 project, and it has been bid out and should be starting construction sometime soon. Then the bridge replacements will take place as with affordability. They'll be doing one at a time or so.
Here, do we have drawings for the downtown infrastructure revitalization phase 2? Do we have drawings on that?
We have
Yeah,
drawings?
Yeah.
They're final drawings, yeah. We have final drawings.
supposed to be bidding that we wanted to bid it in January. I just made a note to follow up on that. We might be a week or 2 weeks behind, but yeah, we have,
Can those be sent out to us?
I think they can. They're pretty large files, but as a PDF maybe. Or
Figure something out.
then the power plant.
Completed though on that, the water lines and all that's done.
That's all done.
Yeah, a lot of that infrastructure has been completed. It's a matter of
Stormwater.
stormwater is the one that's not been. Power plant, what we're going to do with the power plant property, that's still to be determined. We had gone down the path and still thinking the best use for it is multifamily residential and doing a request for proposal, but we're backing up a little bit and meeting with the utilities to see if there's a use within the city, or if we have alternatives for the utilities, then we'll continue with that. But we want to back up and make sure we take a good look at it. The Regional Wellness Center, that project, we've been working on it for almost 3 years now, and it continues to gain momentum. I'm sorry?
Surely it's been longer than that.
Yeah, I think it has, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. But it bends and twists and morphs and becomes a challenging project for us, but we've got a lot of community support and encouraged by the possibilities in the future. So I'll keep you posted on that. Then there's several housing projects that are being planned, not just within the city limits, but also adjacent. So we probably have some annexations in the future as well. And I'm encouraged by the number of people that are coming forward expressing an interest in building housing in Jasper. 15th Street Extension west to Highway 56 has been on our plans for our multimodal transportation plan for quite a while, and this year we should get started on the road part of that. We probably won't get to the bridge until the following year, and the bridge will be done by the county. So we had funding in place for it or reserved for it. It's a matter of getting those final engineering documents and then getting the land acquired so we can move forward. And then the HELP grant, we had identified through that HELP grant that we were going to do a residential rehabilitation program with Region 15 at the helm. This is in conjunction with Du Bois County. So we know there's residences across the county and within the city of Jasper that need some help. And that's what that's all about, is to help them address some of their immediate needs for a roof or the front of the house or windows, those kind of things.
One that I don't see on here yet, and I'll just make this mention in there, I've been kind of eagerly anticipating that one, but if we could find some money this year to take the sidewalk along 231, we went from downtown
Finish it.
to 36th Street, and then the Walgreens properties got a sidewalk when they developed it there, and that's where we stopped. We're about a block and a half short of what our initial goal was of getting out to the shopping center there, in there. So I was hoping maybe I'd see that on this list, or we can get that on, if not 24 into 25. I think
I think it would be in 25, Paul.
Okay.
Focus is really trying to get that north
Sure.
trail complete, that link from Mill Street to St. Charles, but it's a matter of where we get from. We'll go through the project prioritization in February as council. So
Just that block and a half short, and I thought, gosh, we're so close to getting that completed.
yeah, I think there's several of those kind of projects we'd like to see completed.
Could that even be considered as part of the trail? Because in a way, it would take that trail north and then take the trail west.
I think it'd be a stretch.
Yeah.
Because we've been putting sidewalks in going north. Difference in the specification of that trail, yeah. And let's get on with 2024.
I think you're right, though, Nancy. It's pedestrian. So it's not a multi-use trail, but it is an access for pedestrians and connects those areas.
From where that trail would be
Yeah.
to by Walgreens. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nope, thanks.
Great job, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the conflict of interest disclosure statements. And we had two of them, Paul Lori and Bud Harsberger.
Yes, I would like to request the council approval of two uniform conflict of interest disclosure statements. One for Paul Lori, who is a common council member and employed with Hof Equipment. And Bud is the general manager of utilities and sits on the board of directors
Info.
for IMPA.
I'll make a motion to approve both of those.
Motion from Nancy to approve both.
I'll second.
Second from Chad. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And I will abstain.
All abstain. Next on the agenda.
I sent out a list of encumbrances for you to review. The total amount of money being encumbered from '23 into '24 is $4,744,179.96, down from $8 million last year.
Sounds like we got a lot more done than if we didn't have to.
We did.
The ability to get things
Actually,
delivered, right?
We got some increase in prices too, so.
Yeah.
Supplies, probably. Kirsten, I had a question on the redevelopment TIF Central Fund, what that equipment is on that one.
It is in regard to the outdoor pool.
What is it?
In regard to the outdoor pool.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Pay for some of the engineering.
Yes. I don't really know why it says equipment.
I'll make a motion to approve the encumbrances.
Have a motion from John to approve these encumbrances.
I'll second.
Second from Kevin. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And next on the agenda is the President Pro Tem for 2024. And so each January, the legislative body should choose from its members a President Pro Tempore to preside whenever the executive is absent.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to appoint Kevin Manley again as President Pro Tem.
Mayor, if I may, John, I appreciate your trust, I appreciate your support, but I'm not interested in the position.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion then.
Do we have any other motions?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to appoint Phil Mundy to that position.
I have a motion from Nancy to appoint Phil Mundy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Paul. Put Bill or you want to do it?
Yes.
You might get a motion, you gotta be willing. Okay. All right, so I have a motion. Phil Mundy, Nancy. Second from Paul. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Phil.
Congratulations. Thanks, Kevin, for your service.
Yep, Kevin has been president pro tem for many years, but he's done a great job with it, and just want to recognize him for that.
Isn't this where Phil gives the long speech now?
Absolutely not.
Should have heard from him before we voted.
Okay, the next is a request to use the council contractual services funds. And this is for the appraisals, for the
Hamilton and property?
DH Hamilton property.
Do we just need a motion on that?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the use of those funds for the cost of the appraisal.
We have a motion from Kevin.
I'll second.
Have a second from Paul. Further discussion.
I will just say that we do have money in contractual services, so we don't have to do an appropriation. That will cover that expense.
But we do need approval.
But we do need.
Right.
I assume there's two of them we have to get.
That's
So it
correct.
should be for appraisals.
Correct. It
Yeah.
is,
Do we have an estimate as to what this costs?
yes, I have two estimates. One is for $2,500 and the other is for $3,500. I'm negotiating on those, but it's probably going to be pretty close to that total.
With that being said, why are we appropriating 30,000 when those two appraisals equal about 5,000 or 6,000?
That's the amount that we budgeted for contractual services for the year.
The balance in that.
So that's the balance in that fund. That won't be the only use. We use contractual services.
It'll have to be approved each time, but
Um,
that's the total amount.
There is, though, also a line item called appraisals, so,
But there's only like $2,500 in there. I think the plan is at budget time next year that we may increase that so that we don't have to use a contractual service line for appraisal.
So will this 30,000 go into that that appraisal line item?
well, that's what I'm asking, can we go ahead and use the 2,500 from appraisals and then use the balance that we need from contractual
Yes, we
services?
can do
That's what we'll do.
Unless you think there's other appraisers coming up.
I don't have any,
Could be.
yep.
Okay, so I have a motion from Kevin and a second from Paul. Any other questions? All in favor, simply saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Next is ordinance number 2024-1. It's an ordinance establishing a fund for the repair and maintenance of the city-owned assets located in and around the heart of Jasper District. And this is, though it is for it says in and around the heart of Jasper District, this is for the Rojack projects and for Heart of Jasper maintenance as well. So it's not,
Renee
Yep.
issued the maps to us though, so we have.
Yep. And the ordinance itself does reference both the Heart of Jasper District and the Rojack redevelopment area. That's what they were called when they were set up, so.
one is a subset of the other.
For the most part, the redevelopment area sits within the Heart of Jasper's district. But, for example, the Riverwalk, which was a Rojack project, or was it not?
That was not a Rojack project. That was
The river walk does not sit within, if we wanted to use any funds to maintain any of that or anything along there. So we did include that as part of the area.
This is available for the first reading.
Correct.
In addition to this, we're going to have a discussion that this is a fund set up within the city of Jasper, managed by the city of Jasper.
Correct.
And there's also been discussion about an endowment fund. Okay, we'll bring that back to this.
So I will read the purpose because we've had some discussion about what that specific language should sound like. So it says, the funds on deposit in the Jasper Downtown Redevelopment Project Maintenance Fund, which is what we're calling it, may be used for improvement, repair, and development of city-owned assets, whether or not developed by the city, which are located in, adjacent to, or connected with assets within the redevelopment area or in the district.
But we talked about
So-
taking development out.
Right, that's why I'm asking.
Okay, yeah.
Is that in the ordinance here? Are you reading from the ordinance?
Section 3.
Section 3.
Yep.
Motion for the first reading tonight by title only.
Okay.
Start there.
Motion from Paul to read by title only.
I'll second.
I have a second from Kevin. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So then I would go ahead and make a motion to approve on the first reading.
Well, I have to.
Sorry, you're going to read it first. Go ahead. Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself.
Okay, ordinance number 2024-1, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Jasper, Indiana, establishing a fund for the repair and maintenance of city-owned assets located in and around the heart of Jasper District.
Do I have a motion to approve the ordinance on the first reading?
So I will make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-1 in the first reading, striking the word development from section 3 on there, leaving it for improvement and repair.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
I have another question. In the 2, 3, 4, 5 whereas, it says, whereas often upon completion of a project, ROJAC and our HOJ as the project sponsor and our developer will offer the donation and our transfer of ownership interest in all of said project to the city. Could that say may offer instead of will offer? Because maybe it won't be offered. Maybe that developer would just keep it as a private, whatever they're doing on their own, and may not have to offer it. And, I mean, maybe we wouldn't even want to accept it.
Well, I don't think that this dictates that. It just says often, not they must, but often they will donate. The idea is that for those that do get donated to the city, this fund is being established to maintain.
And it doesn't obligate the city to accept it either.
That's correct.
As long as that's understood there, yeah.
I'm curious if we have an idea in, per annum, what it costs currently to maintain these ROJAC assets. Do we have?
There's a listing that the park department has put together as far as projecting out a number of years.
They're taking care of the general maintenance. What they're talking about is the larger projects. That's what this is for.
We had an example this year, we put new doors on the train depot. After 21 years, 22 years, it needed new doors to come through there. And that was a pretty, I would assume, a pretty large line item expense on the park department's maintenance budget, where something, endowment like this would be able to help come in and cover some of those costs, long range.
The $20,000 spent on
The wheel.
and $150,000 that's projected to be spent on the deck.
And then another possible project could be the decking around the train depot. I mean, there's a whole list of things that, Chad, there's no way that the park department can cover those under their current budget.
Well, right now, we've been approving them under their budgets, but, you know,
I think the decking on the bridge.
it'd come away from that.
Yeah, the decking on the bridge would be huge.
And we still may have to fund some through there because this may not,
We're not gonna get-
this may not be enough to even,
But it's a good start. Yep.
This is a start. Yeah.
I think more important than that line that I was talking about is that whether the developer would offer the donation. I think to backtrack that would even be approving a project before it even goes through to see if the city would even want to accept it in time as a donation back to the city. And I think, to me, that's kind of where ROJAC put the cart before the horse several times, is let's build this, whatever. Oh, we'll just give it to the city, assuming the city would take on all those projects. And I mean, I've been on the ROJAC board all those years, and a lot of times I did not agree with that approach, feeling that was always assuming the city would take over everything when, again, the park department's budget could not withstand all of those things.
So that was the basis for the development, gosh, I can't remember what year it was, in and approved by the Board of Public Works of I think we called it a redevelopment agreement or a project development agreement, something like that, that required pre-approval of the project by the city. And it required a number of things, financial accounting for how the maintenance of the project would be covered. So,
But that was after the train depot, the trains, the mill, and then that kind of came about.
I think we've learned through the years that it's something that we just have to put in place on any new project. And these were great projects. These were all, these were all great projects.
Yes.
They've added value to the city.
and I think now we have a really close working relationship with the Heart of Jasper. That is really helpful.
I think the vision and where it's gotten to has been good. It's just here on looking
So the pieces are in place, we just need the glue to keep it together.
right.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I've got a motion from Paul and a second from Nancy. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
This was the first reading.
Okay. Next is resolution number 2024-1, resolution authorizing the transfer, oh, wait a second, before we go there, discussion about Du Bois County.
The endowment.
There is in the works a new fund being established within the foundation for an endowment to go toward these projects, RoJack projects. And Kevin's been working closely with Clayton and Du Bois County Foundation. We have some commitment for initial monies going into this foundation. We feel like it would be a good commitment and open for discussion within the county, within the council, to provide some of the riverboat funds that we have available to us to help seed that endowment. And so I think, I don't know, Kevin, you want to talk more about it?
I can add a few things. I sent this out to all the council members and to you, Mayor, so that you could have a chance to look at it and be prepared for discussion. But just to add what you said, all the RoJack projects, all that have been funded through membership. And we're basically completing all those projects and consolidating with Heart of Jasper. And I think we've all admitted, and Nancy pointed it out, that we didn't have a maintenance fund for those items back in the day, and that was a mistake. But we're trying to correct that now and fix it before we turn it over to Heart of Jasper. And this endowment, it's in place right now. What I proposed to the council was we have $617,000, $773 in the Riverboat Fund. We also receive about $89,000 a year from the Riverboat that keeps adding into it. And my suggestion was that recommending we take $100,000 of that to put it into the endowment to help kickstart the endowment. We're also, tourism in Jasper has committed $20,000. It may already be in there already, but they've also are considering to, in years to come, to continue to support this because they realize how important it is to tourism and how much it helps Jasper and our county. So that's the approach. Another part of the approach is we're going to prepare a letter at RoJack and ask the membership that have supported us for all these years and explain the situation to them and see if they can, and ask for their support to help in the endowment fund. Now, beside from that, we need to get that up to $1 million. That's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time, but we feel confident that over the next few years, these members continue to support it, we can help to build it up. And I think that's a step in the right direction. From the city's perspective, why I'm proposing $100,000, because if we're going to go out and ask citizens to give money to this, we should show support to it ourselves. That's my personal take on it. I feel like that's not going to be enough. We know that. But this line, we went through tonight, and we're going to have a new line item that maybe in next month's meeting, we need to talk about what money we need to take out of this fund and put it into that line item to hold us over for major expenses in the short term while we build up this other fund. The other part that I thought about was, 4 years from now, I'm not going to be here. The mayor may not be here. God forbid, I hope Kirsten's here, but maybe she won't either. So when people look back at this, they're going to say, if we don't do this, then we've just laid this on the city, so somebody else is going to have to figure out how to handle it. So my take on it is we need to figure out how to handle it now, and I think this is the best approach. The Rojac board, I believe, is 100% behind this. I didn't think we had anybody against it. Felt strongly that we need to go this way. Clayton has also said that he would help us through his donor base to try to help us to build it up as well. So without further ado, if you have any other questions or anything, you can shoot them out now.
Kevin, you had mentioned the endowment will pay 4%. Is that a guaranteed from the endowment that it
Yes.
pays 4%?
That's what I was told. That's what they pay out every year.
Okay.
Will that be paid directly to the city, or will that be paid to whoever is?
Directly to the city. It's written in there to the line item that will be associated to the Rojac endowment, or to the line item that we have in our budget. Can't be used anywhere else.
So they will give us 4% every year.
That's what
Probably goes.
Is that,
So do we have to request approval for any
No.
maintenance or anything that we want to spend, that needs to be spent out?
how many years does the endowment have to be in place before it pays out anything?
Well, they'll pay out the second year. You can pay out the second
Second
year
year.
if you have enough money in it. 5,000 is the minimum. We're already at 20. If we put our 100 in, we'll be getting some money back already next year.
I like the two-pronged approach of having the community establishing this foundation to go toward these projects and having the line item so that we have the flexibility for some funds to be able to address some immediate needs, whereas they may not be able to fund the total thing, that we would have some in place, like the event of this flooring at the mill, $150,000. It'll take us several years to build
Right.
that up. So-
Absolutely.
So I think having some money initially put into that fund is going to be a plus for us.
And again, I think the public-private partnership, again, the two-prong approach is where we're going to continue to succeed.
And we've basically done that on every single
That's right.
project that we've had. Had tremendous community
Success.
support.
Yep.
So at this point, I guess we, having the discussion,
Well, when we talked with Renee, we thought that we'd have a resolution next month. This was the discussion period. Let it sink in. If somebody's against it or feels strongly in one way or another, we got a period of, a month to talk about it before next month we'd have the resolution to move forward with
We
it.
can spend the 100,000 and never get anything back, or we can invest it now and reap a small return for a long time to come.
Kirsten, what's the State Board of Accounts position on taking city money and put it into an endowment?
I spoke to Renee about that. We
We can use riverboat funds.
can't use any other fund.
We can't use any other fund, but we can use riverboat
Our tax dollars, it's coming from.
Gaming funds.
gaming funds.
I just want to make sure that we're all legal on everything.
I wonder if it would be enticing to would-be givers, donors, if we, I don't even know if it's possible, but if we took a matching gift approach to say, look, if we can raise, give it a deadline this year, the first $100,000 raised, it's going to be matched by our gift, or whatever that dollar amount needs to be. I wonder if that's a way to get it done quicker.
It was actually brought up at a Rojac meeting. I don't know how well it's set, but
Really?
I think it's a good idea. I like it.
I think it
really do.
depends how the letter from Rojac to its membership is worded also. And generally, in a given year, the membership dues from Rojac brings in about 50,000. It's been more, but about right now, about 50,000. And I'm pretty sure the Rojac board is fairly committed to putting those funds toward this also. So we could say that in a letter. So it just depends how that letter is worded on the response from that membership.
My opinion of that Rojac board has never failed. When they put their mind to a project and get it going, it happens. They make it happen. Just
I
my,
second that.
I mean, it's my thought, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you watched it,
There's a just do it, can do attitude.
that's exactly right.
But I do like your idea, Chad.
Well, let's gnaw on that for a month.
Okay.
See where we think we might land.
That letter to the membership goes out usually March or April, so the timing on this type of thing,
Right.
mulling it over is still good.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's good, Mayor.
Next on the agenda is resolution number 2024-1. It's a resolution authorizing transfer of interest in real estate. This transfers the power plant property to the Jasper Redevelopment Commission.
Is this one reading only?
This,
It says,
I think we wanted to have discussion about it for information only tonight if we could. didn't
We were presented with some new information this morning at a meeting. So while this is still certainly a possibility, we need a little bit more time to investigate whether this is the highest and best use of that property. So it will be coming back to you at a later date.
Yeah, there's a lot of
But-
details as to what was presented this morning that we have not had a chance to digest. So,
For quite a while, we've identified that property as a great location for dense multifamily development. So we've gone through the environmental investigation stage, and we sought and fairly recently received what is called a site status letter, which is basically a letter from IDEM that sets out exactly what can and cannot be done and how it can be done on that property. So we are just in the process of taking that information and creating the required soil management plan for development on the site and platting that site, and now have been introduced to the idea of possibly using that site for internal utility use instead. So we just don't want to rush in. Correct. So we just want to investigate all the options and needs and uses to make sure that we make the best decision for that property.
thanks for covering that.
I can't remember, how many acres is the piece of property we're talking about?
The lot would be just under 7 acres. We're carving out the parking lot for the Riverwalk.
So we'll table that discussion.
I have a couple things, sorry. I wanted to thank Kale and Cindy for the handbook that they provided for the council orientation. It's very good and nicely updated. And then we've talked before about those opioid funds. And Renee, I'm not sure if you've ever had the conversation, or Kirsten with Sandy Morton, about how we would transfer those or whatever, but kind of a new idea came up in the Substance Abuse Council, is maybe keeping the funds in the hands of the city just for ease of transferability, and letting the Substance Abuse Council maybe being the granting listener, you might say, and then bring the, I guess, the decision on how the grant money could be spent back to the council or another body of the city, and then let the city issue those checks to take away that complexity of transferring those funds somehow to the city. Plus, it also leaves us open as a council or whatever board to grant money ourselves if some entity came before this board to look for some of those funds.
In speaking with Sandy, I do believe, and with State Board of Accounts, that that probably is the only way that we can make it happen. We cannot just blanketly give the Substance Abuse Council our money because their budget is run through the county, and we will be responsible for reporting, some strict reporting requirements on those funds. Additionally, I do think that it will be necessary that we keep some sort of, like you said, have the ability to approve or not approve a use, because I think there's some strict requirements too about using it for opioid, whereas the Substance Abuse Council provides for all drugs, and this is specific to opioid use.
Some are restricted, some are unrestricted.
Right.
Work out that. So I just wanted to bring that up, that was mentioned, and that some representatives from that group are willing to be here this evening, and I said it's way too premature, don't come and waste your time. So to further that discussion, maybe we could keep that in mind whenever we decide what to do with it.
And she was going to meet, I think, with the JRAC. They were having a meeting regarding what the counties use, how they were going to use their funds.
Okay.
And then she was going to get back to me to see if they had any other insight from that point forward.
Because the pot of money is only going to keep growing.
I think it's great. I think it's a good way to approach
Yep.
it.
That they would, I think, serve as an administrator, basically, that is what their role would be then. The Substance Abuse Council would serve as an administrator, help decide who would get the funds and bring it to us to ask for approval. I don't know the answer to that. I can't do it.
Process. Yeah.
Not tonight.
And then I did want to thank the mayor for bringing in Mike Hicks and David Terrell. I don't know if any of you were at the meeting last week at the Astra, but it was excellent, and they had a lot of great things to say about Jasper in this area, so we can be very proud of that. Of course, we always have room to improve, but that was great. And then you all probably got this too, an email from the Department of Local Government Finance about the tax rate being approved or whatever, so I didn't know how that would work into whatever you're doing whenever we need to announce, I guess, what the tax rate's been approved at.
Yes, I did get that email, and I'm not quite ready for that yet.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. And then one other thing, just a reminder, through the chamber, we have a legislative breakfast this Saturday at VUJC from 9 to 10:30. If you want to come and hear what's going on at the state level, we'll have Senator Mark Messmer and Representative Shane Lindar there to share whatever is going on right now in the state legislature. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. I have one thing I wanted to inform the council of. That's at the next Board of Public Works meeting, we're going to be recognizing 2 of our employees for their life-saving heroism. 2 different departments, 2 different incidents, and 2 residents still walking around today because of their efforts. So I invite you to attend the Board of Public Works meeting, the next one coming.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay, Lisa did send it. Of course, Lisa would send that.
Thing. Nancy reminded me of it. We did get the final S&P report on our bond rating, and we received a rating of AA-, which was the Baker Tilly very, very good. So we were congratulated by them and our bond council. Congratulations to everybody who's worked so hard over the years for the financial strength of the city.
Yeah, and what that does for us is as we bond, it gets us approved.
Correct.
That means a lot.
Better rate that sells faster.
Sells faster. That's right. All right, if there's anything else, otherwise I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn? Vince, there you go.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.